Hey guys, and welcome to another video. This is quite a topic that you'd be like, man, this is totally absurd, right? And it's about time being two-dimensional. And time being two-dimensional is actually not a new idea. It's actually one idea that may be used for string theory. I'm not going to get into that, of course, because that's too complex for me to know anything about. However, I can get into how time having two different time dimensions could exist in this universe. Well, technically not in this universe, it would be in the quote multiverse if there are multiple universes, which is just a theory, of course. However, it is a very, very possible theory, as a matter of fact. Very possible theory. And without further ado, obviously, we'll start at the basics. Obviously, of course, you probably know that time is a dimension itself because you can do this with it. You can create a graph. This is time, and then I'm going to put, millions of years. No, I won't do millions of years. That's just boring. Let's do seconds. Boom, seconds. All right. And then this is distance, okay? Meters, let's say, okay? So, how do you do this? Well, this is a graph of speed, right? If you want to graph speed, there's no other easy way to do it, okay? Well, there's pretty much no other way to do it because that is the definition of speed. So let's say you have this many seconds and you have this many meters. The more up it goes like this is the more distance it goes in smaller amounts of time, otherwise known as speed. This would be a lower speed, this would be a changing speed, stuff like that, right? So we're already familiar with a time axis as we know it. What we're not familiar with is the idea that you can have both of these axes in a graph be time. Okay? You would think, of course, like, oh, well, doesn't that just equal this because time always equals time? Well, I'm going to show you why that's not the case, although if you do use the exact same type of time, then yeah, it would equal that, but this is a different case here, okay? So when would this be? Let's see, when would be a good starting point for when time happened? Well, probably that would be the Big Bang, right? Okay, so let's say this is Big Bang. Big Bang. Okay. And this is now. Okay, now. This was around the time that stars and galaxies formed. This is around the time we existed, way over here. This is around the time sharks existed around here, maybe. Okay. And, there's a whole bunch of stuff in between, right? This is everything that's ever happened in our universe. Lies on this line, okay? Everything, let's say. Now, when does this axis come in, okay? Well, imagine the Big Bang never happened, okay? Well, if we wanted to graph a point on this plot, we can't graph it on any point here because if the Big Bang never happened, it wouldn't be a part of this universe. It would be part of a different universe in the multiverse, right? So any different universe, it would have to go in one of these places, okay? Let's put it like here or something, right? Or even better, it would be here because that would be the exact opposite if the Big Bang happened, of course, right? And then this would be a whole new universe on itself, and it would continue in time forever, see? And, of course, I understand this is kind of a hard topic to understand. Hopefully you get it by now, but if you don't, I'll keep going, okay? Now, think about how many points in time there is. The smallest unit of time a second, a nanosecond, a microsecond. Well, microseconds longer than a nanosecond. A picosecond. A picosecond is probably the closest you can get to the smallest amount of time. And then there's a Planck second. Planck second is defined as basically the smallest amount of time. If I remember correctly, it's the amount of time for light to travel a Planck distance. So, in other words, it's a bunch of gigantic jargon, okay, that you don't need to understand. It'll be fine. Let's see, right here was around the time stars and galaxies formed, I said, right? Let's say something different happened and stars and galaxies didn't form, right? You know, then that would create a whole new universe along this line. And then let's say that's right around here. This would be a whole new universe, right? And it would be separate from this universe and separate from this universe. However, it would be the same for this amount of time. It would be the exact same, right? You could say the exact same thing right here. If humans never existed, that would be a whole new universe. Now notice, I never make this go back. I never make it go back, because you can't go back in time if you already have a time before that, right? So in this different universe, it went like this, so the exact same thing happened, except that humans were never born, right? That would be a different universe, right? I mean, obviously. Except that these universes can also branch off, right? They can branch off at any point, and any point along this grid, right? And you can create, and it's basically a whole gigantic thing, right? And that's how time can have two dimensions. If you don't understand that, maybe I'll make a simpler video later, I don't know. But see you guys.